Hi, my name's Shane. I use they and them pronouns. This is the 8th session in Impossible Landscapes, our Delta Green campaign. This series was organised as part of the Open Hearth gaming calendar. Open Hearth is a community that plays and talks about lots of role-playing games, especially Indian story games. If you want to find out more or come play a game with us, you can check out openhearthgaming.com or find us on all kinds of social media, things like that. Just while I remember, we're not going to have a session next week. Just a reminder, I emailed you all about that. I am extremely excited about a rare opportunity for a cinematic screening of Bellatar's 7.5-hour masterpiece, Shut and Tango. So that's what I'll be doing in this time slot next week. And then back the week after that, we'll be back to our regular schedule. Apologies for the disruption. I'm going to ask the players now to introduce themselves and their characters, names and pronouns, and anything that you want to share or tell us. Puckett, can I get you to go first?
Of course, you want me to go first. First of all, that sounds awesome.
I can come back to you if it's inconvenient.
No, I'm good. I'm glad you're getting to see a movie like that in its theater. It's rare to get opportunities like that. So go you, chase your dream, enjoy your happy. Anyway, I'm Puckett. I have kitten brain, so I hope y'all excuse me if I bound back and forth and seem a little disjointed. I use he, him pronouns, and I will be playing Sarah Bradford, who started off as a wealthy scion of a Mayflower family and then realized it was more fun to piss her parents off, and that's why she got kicked out of Harvard as a legacy because she started forging art. It's 20-odd years later, after a particularly haunting example of things that she couldn't control, and her life has kind of gone a very different direction. She realized that her parents were, she always thought her dad was the good one, realized he kind of put her in some bad spots intentionally. And she has spent the last 20 years trying to figure out what the hell is actually going on with her partner, both romantic and investigative, Yelena. Moving right along.
Brandon?
Yes, hi, I'm Brandon. I'm playing Tara Reinhardt, she, who came into Delta Green many years ago, like when she was just a firefighter paramedic. She's still in the business, but she's a station chief now and has been involuntarily yanked out of that life and away from her husband and 2 children to do Delta Green's bidding. She actually has 3 children. Just one of them's grown up, and she has stopped thinking of it as a child. It's just off to college.
Thank you. Mark?
Hello, my name is Mark. My pronouns are he, him, and they, them. And I am playing Yelena Anisimov, whose pronouns are she, her. Yelena, about 25 years ago, defected from the Soviet Union, USSR, I guess it was called at the time. I can't remember exactly. And defected to the West and joined Delta Green not too long after for her work with the Soviet government in studying otherworldly cultures and civilizations, with her PhD in anthropology. And now, about 20 years later, it's about 55, teaching at Boston University in anthropology, also obsessively pursuing her interest in Carcosa and this play, The King in Yellow, much to the chagrin of her partner, and again, who is Sarah. Sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained myself today.
That's right.
So yeah, I'm now roped back in on threat and pain of death.
Nobody actually threatened you with death. It was
implied.
You can't slander the program like that.
That was implication, not a direct threat.
Yeah, maybe. And Blake?
It's all about what you don't say.
Definitely nobody has said that you'll be shot if you don't cooperate.
Yeah, it was a veiled threat, or veiled implication. Anyway, g'day, I'm Blake. He, him, playing Felix Strassman. He, him, physicist. So he's, 50 at this point. Teacher at MIT, was a professor before that whole assault prison issue. He's trying to get his life back on track. Yeah.
Cool.
There's so much we can say. Yeah, all good.
All right. So last week I said that during this sort of section of the campaign, I'd like to start each session by asking you each to answer a question that will sort of help us to flesh out what it looks like as the growing influence of Carcosa spreads across Boston and the world. So today, what I would like each of you to tell me is, like downtown Boston usually boasts this beautiful waterfront, historical buildings, all of these, there's a theatre district, all kinds of great, nice things. But locals just don't notice any of that anymore. They don't really look around. They seem not to really take in their surroundings. What disturbing sign of corruption and rot would they notice if they did pay attention? Puckett, do you want to answer first?
Yeah. The historical figures that dress up and answer questions around these buildings dating back to the Revolutionary War, they're just sloppy as hell. Like it's gone over time. I mean, it started with loose buttons, and they didn't tie ties appropriately, and maybe some of the clothing wasn't period accurate. Now they just literally sit there. If they're in half a costume, that's considered very great. They're drinking all the time. They cuss at people. It's just, there's nothing good about it anymore. Like, they ask, like, when somebody says, well, what happened in 1793? They say, why does it matter?
Amazing. Thank you very much. Brandon, what's another sign of corruption and rot that people are sort of not noticing around Boston these days?
Well, this is perhaps a little more drastic. So Boston Harbor appears actually to be a gigantic lake.
Oh, interesting.
Echoing the Lake of Holly, on the Carcosa's planet. No one seems to think that there's anything wrong with this.
Amazing.
That it's not an ocean, anymore. It's just in this enormous sort of shrouded lake. It's always been like that. We've always had Boston Harbor has always been a harbor on the Great Northern Lake.
Amazing. Thank you. Mark?
I think like storefront signs and street signs appear like with words that are unfamiliar. Like, you might take a glance and not understand exactly what kind of language you're looking at, and maybe when you glance back, it's back to English. But this is happening more and more, and the effects lasting like longer and longer as time goes on. I think there might even be some street signs that just seem permanently changed here and there,
but are still somehow readable.
Somehow.
Amazing. Thank you. And Blake?
I think there are daisies in like windowsills and pot plants and flower shops and stuff. And if you kind of count the petals going around from 12 at the top around, the petals that are prime numbers will wilt when anybody young is near them.
Incredible. Thank you. So, just to recap where we're up to, it is September 2015. the case that you're all working on, which sort of seems to bear uncanny connections to the one you worked 20 years ago, is about 4 patients who have gone missing from a psychiatric facility with ties to Delta Green. All 4 of them had delusions related to a place named Carcosa or a play called The King in Yellow, and all are considered dangers to themselves and to others. You've been following sort of a few main threads. One of them is classical demonology. Many individuals connected to the Dorchester, which is the psychiatric facility, share names with demons from the Ars Goetia or the Lesser Key of Solomon. One thread that you've been working on is Elias Barbas, who you know now is the Director of Forensic Science for the Boston State Police. You know that he visited the Dorchester a number of times in the period when the missing patient's mental health was really sort of dramatically deteriorating. Last week, Sarah and Felix decided they didn't want to approach Barbas or start looking into him too much until they had credentials or decent fake IDs, things like that. So you've got those now, and you also have both his home and office addresses. The other thread is Agent Exeter himself, the case officer who gave you this mission. He seemed pretty weird, even by Delta Green standards, when you met him. And now you know that he also attended a strange support group meeting, the Encounter Group, that Sarah and Felix investigated. All the participants wore sort of paper mache masks and silver robes that made them unidentifiable, but Sarah recognized Exeter's car in the parking lot. This left Sarah and Felix questioning whether you are actually working for Delta Green, whether this mission is a Delta Green mission, or if Exeter is freelancing or corrupted or something. So Felix has reached out both to your old case officer Marsha from the 90s, leaving a message for her, although there was no recorded message, no voicemail message. And Felix also contacted his more recent Delta Green contact, Agent Bart, who said that he could not confirm that Exeter was working for the program. That doesn't mean that he necessarily isn't, just that he couldn't confirm it immediately. And he's asked all of you, well, I guess he asked Felix in particular, to come in for a full debrief at Trivellino Mall, about 50 miles south of Boston, at 11 p.m. tomorrow night. There has been some speculation as to whether it's really a debriefing or whether going to the mall in the middle of the night would be hazardous to your health, but you've got some time to think about it, I guess. You haven't so far tried using the satellite phone that Exeter gave you for contacting Delta Green about this. That's what I have by way of recap. Does anyone have any questions or clarifications about where we're up to?
Yeah, when I asked my previous recruiters about sort of what's going on, I did not mention Tara and Yolena's names. So
yeah, that's right.
If I put myself in the crosshairs, you may not be there with me. You may be safe, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So as we start, it's going to be early evening on a Wednesday in September, about a day and a half since we last saw Tara and Yelena, since Mark and Brandon were away last week. So the first thing I want to do is just establish what Tara and Yelena were doing during that time. So basically, I have a list of topics that you could have gone off to investigate, and I'll get each of you to choose. Well, if you want to just say you were doing something else, that's okay. If you want, you can choose one of these that you worked on. I'll get you to make a relevant dice roll. You'll get some information regardless of the result of the roll, but you'll get more and better information if you succeed. The options are the patient files. Yelena took away some files on the patients from the Dorchester. You can work on those. You can look into the sort of delusions that the patients had. So that includes something about a presidential candidate, a television show, or a serial killer. You can do some more research about the Dorchester house itself. Or if you want, you can do some more research about the Trivellino Mall where the debriefing has been set for. Tara, Do any of those topics seem like something that you might have done some research on? Are you muted, Brandon?
Yeah, the one is certainly one of the first two, right? The patients or their delusions.
Well,
So the first is just on the patient's history.
the actual paper files that the Dorchester gave you about the patients.
Okay. And then the second thing is about the delusions that the patient.
Well, so it'd be one specific delusion that you want to look into more. So either something about a presidential candidate.
I'll take a look at the patient files.
All right. And Yelena, what about you?
I think I will probably look at the delusions, or at least one of them.
Yeah. Do any in particular that you want to look into?
So there's a serial killer.
So the delusions or alleged delusions were that there's a candidate in next year's presidential election who is inspired in some way by the King in Yellow. One is that there's a TV show now in production that is linked to Carcosa in some way. And the third is that there's a serial killer on the loose in Boston, and that they are in fact they're deriving some of their power or inspiration from the text.
I think, considering our experience with like media and its connection to this thing, I will probably choose the television show.
All right. Cool. So I'll start with Tara and the patient files. So if you think there's a relevant skill that you want to use for this, you can roll that. But otherwise, I'll just get you to roll your int by 5 value.
My int by 5 is higher than the relevant skill. So
okay.
No.
Okay. So what you do find in the files is that it's quickly obvious to you that it's not so much that these 4 patients each had a delusion of their own that were separate and distinct. It's that they all had different sort of focuses or emphases, but understood this to be like a broader pattern, a bigger problem, whether delusional or otherwise. All of them believed that there were 2 sort of alien forces engaged in a power struggle, the Phantom and the Sisters. And that this power struggle was sort of spilling out into our world in some way, like our world, like in the way that some developing countries became sort of objects for the major powers to struggle over in the Cold War. You also see that it seems to you that the suspects were sort of taking pains to conceal from Dr. Dallin how developed and interlinked these theories were. And you also find that each of these patients had been interviewed by Dr. Barbas, which you didn't know before. And it's striking that there are no, there's no notes on the content of what he talked to them about, which is odd, because otherwise there's at least some notes about the contents of all of their interviews. So that's what you get from going through the patient files, other than, the sorts of things that you would expect to find. Does that make sense? Any questions about that?
No.
Cool. All right, Yelena. So you're looking into a television show. I don't know what to ask you to roll to find out more about a television show. I guess I'm open to you pitching something to me.
So I can see, like, I have an idea. I don't know what to roll to determine if there is, in fact, a television show, but I have an idea to roll on the assumption that a television show is being made, and maybe potentially being able to snag a copy of the pilot or something. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. How would you go about trying to find out? I mean, maybe it's even. I'm not sure how broad anthropology is supposed to be, but maybe you can use some of your research skills here.
Yeah. Because I mean, under the description, it says the study of like living cultures, understand morals, religious beliefs, customs, and mores. So like, I wonder if there was a pilot of this show, then I could get a sense of like what kind of cultural values are being messaged in this show and what's that sort of
All
thing.
right, I buy this. So go ahead and make an anthropology roll.
I have this image of Yelena watching this show in a language that she doesn't know, so that she can just pay attention to the cues the actors are giving each other. You know,
and the like symbolism and all of that.
Yeah, that's right. It's just like to put it up in Serbo-Croatian or something like that.
So what you
did there?
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, sorry, I said I succeeded there.
Great. So what you find is that there is a show that's currently in production. It's going to be a 10-episode like streaming show. A quite well-regarded Russian director named Maria Shuva is working on it at the moment. They're shooting mostly on the West Coast of the US. It is based on an old French sort of legend, and it follows from an unsuccessful attempt that she made to sort of make a film version of this story in the 90s. It's set in a medieval chateau of some kind. And for your success, you sort of get more details about the story that this is based on. The story goes that in the 1400s, a French noble named Augustus Chastain inherited a strange building called the Chateau de Port, or the House of Doors, so called because it had doors leading from every room, including those on the upper stories, so many doors that opened into the air. There were many odd events, hauntings, and tragic deaths around the chateau. Augustus eventually claimed to have decoded a strange wire-bound book that he'd found there, and that by calling certain phrases into the building's doors, he could open them into other places and other times. He mentioned, in particular, a school, a hospital, a bookseller, and a great city. He eventually published a book about demonology based on what he found there under the name Solomon, and died shortly thereafter. The other detail that you find for your success is that someone named Henry Samagina worked in production in the early stages of this show, and you recognize that name because you met a nurse at the Dorchester named Esther Samagina. So that's what you found. There's no footage from this show is publicly available at this point. It probably doesn't even have a release date. So, like I said, we're opening on the evening of September, I think 2nd. It's a Wednesday night. It's about 8 p.m. You've just received these fake IDs. I'm going to say that you've met back up probably at Sarah and Yelena's place. It seemed like you were using that as a bit of a base. You've all shared the information that you just found. Do you want to spend some time talking about what it means, or do you want to put those IDs to use right away?
Little talk would be helpful.
So this is the night we're supposed to meet with Bart, Agent Bart?
That's tomorrow night. You've got basically 24 hours before that happens.
Okay.
Kind of getting tired of all these demon names popping up. I mean, it's a lot more than coincidence at this point. It seems like a pattern.
But it's the same with that play. It's like different interpretations or versions of that play seem to keep showing up.
It's Chastain. That's a familiar name too, isn't it?
Yeah, you met the night manager at the McAllister in the night floors, whose name was Castaigne, but similar name.
Right. And
So either all of these demons are just walking around and being very unsubtle about it, or there's
well,
some sort
there's
of crossover happening.
well more than that. I mean, I told you guys, looking at all the patient records, there's two sides here. We're not up against one force. There are two of them fighting it out on our turf, or at least they all believed separately, and it doesn't look like they compared notes.
And sorry, just to add something to clarify, those of you who've read The King in Yellow will know that that is the plot. It's about the power struggle between a fandom of truth and these two sisters, Casilda and Camilla.
Right.
Great. So we're the battleground for a proxy war?
Appears so.
And so, Sarah, you and Felix suspect that we're working for we might be working for one of these factions instead of Delta Green.
My suspicion is that we don't know. Exeter may have been compromised. He was at the meeting, that support group meeting.
He may just be off books trying to find out more, but we're not sure if he's representing Delta Green or not. Because he was at a support meeting for what looked like a cult that he asked us to investigate. Sort of like, what the hell?
I mean, either he is at a point where he needs to be immediately taken from service, or he's involved in all of this in a greater detail than we know. Because we've all met him. We know how he smells. We know what he sounds like when he moves. It was him. Even if we didn't have a license plate, we knew it was him. He's either so unsubtle that he's no good to Delta Green anymore, or I don't know. He's been compromised. He's working for another side. I mean, I can't even.
That's why I reached out to Agent Bart. He's supposed to meet with us tomorrow. Well, he's supposed to meet with me tomorrow night. He doesn't know your names and how much you're involved or not. But hopefully Bart isn't also working for Exeter, and then he's going to try and shoot me.
How did you get in touch with Bart?
He was my previous handler for the last time I worked for Delta Green, and I just reached out and said, what's with this Exeter guy? Something seems funny. He's like, no, you're right to check in. Let's have a chat about it.
All the more reason for us to be there.
Elena, I've spent the last few days with Felix. If Delta Green is watching Felix, then they know that I'm part of whatever he's into.
Of course.
They don't know about you. If this is one of those meetings where we are being retired, I want you to be around to retire whoever retired me.
Well, we just play it like the first meeting. Well, like you played it with the first meeting. I dress up in a trench coat and big sunglasses and hat and sit on the side until I'm needed.
Because it's a mall in the middle of the night and you'd be noticeable. Yeah. It's not like it's a cafe at a busy time of day.
Yeah, it's a giant mall in the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night.
There's lots of nooks and crannies to hide in. When I escaped the Soviets, I tell you, I had to hide in lots of weird places.
It's not about you hiding. It's about you being alive it's about you being alive. Either we come out of it fine and we tell you everything that we know, or we don't. And I'll put on my spy glasses. I mean, they were completely useless at that meeting because they turned the lights out. But this time, I know they'll be useful this time.
Sarah, if something does happen, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah, I've got a gun.
Yeah, I've seen you I've seen you hold that gun.
Look, I don't need to shoot well if they're at close range.
Yeah, you kind of still do.
Tara, you have kids.
Yeah. But it looks like they're in the neck, up to the neck in this too. They just don't know it yet.
Well, point being,
I'd rather they have a world without me in it than that they have no world, frankly.
if all four of us go and all four of us get retired, there's no one left to try to stop whatever's coming.
It should just be two. One to meet and one to back up.
Hey, I don't want to meddle too much, but I would encourage you to table this discussion because you've got about 24 hours of investigation before you have to make a decision, and things that you find may change how you want to approach it.
Fine. All right, let's go look for some more things then.
This may be relevant. When we went to the support group, we had to dress up in silver robes and put on a paper mache mask, and then they at one point turned the lights off and made us all swap chairs and stuff. So it's anonymity is mandatory with one of these groups that we're investigating. There just may be something to keep in mind for future reference.
What do we have to look at right now?
Got Barbas. We also have these, and I'll hold them up and say, really exceptional documents and identification. I mean, this is the good shit. Sometimes having criminal contacts, well, no, I actually had to pay them, so it doesn't pay off, but it has benefits.
Barbas is, I mean, we should talk to Barbas, but one of us should be a lie detector because he didn't put any notes in when he interviewed the patients. He was logged in their records as talking to them, but he didn't write a note, which is an absolute no-no for a doctor. He was putting his license on the line, not writing a note.
So just to clarify, what they learnt last time is that he's a doctor of forensic medicine, so mostly a pathologist. He doesn't normally see patients.
Oh, okay. Well, then, right. He interviewed these patients, and he's a forensicist. He's a pathologist. What the hell is he doing? But if he did interview the patient and he didn't write a note, that's a breach. So there's two things wrong.
It probably shouldn't be Felix or I going to talk to him because the Stadies still have facial recognition.
It should probably be me and Elena, honestly.
Yep.
Okay. So we can go do that.
So are you just going to go to his house? Are you going to call ahead? Do you want to try and find him at his office? What's the plan?
What time is it?
It's about 8 p.m., I think.
Then I'm going to go right to his house.
Oh, okay. So we are running headfirst on this. Gotcha.
Well, we go to his house right now. We might actually be able to talk to him in a normal frame of mind.
Should we be down the street in another car? Sarah?
I mean, we're not going to the station, so.
Well, if there's something else you guys can look into, I mean, I feel like there's still so much ground we haven't covered, but
Mm-hmm. What are the fake credentials?
Yeah, I was going to ask that too.
Oh,
Is it FBI
well,
again?
oh God, no. No, this is stuff that's going to be interesting. For example, Yelena, you're an investigator for the USDA.
All right.
And your legend has to do with food pollution that's being covered up. My legend is that actually, no, it's Tara's legend about Homeland Security. You're a well-placed individual within DHS who found her way into DHS as a direct result of investigating 9/11. And your investigative skills brought you into that organization almost to kind of keep you quiet. So there's a little bit of a conspiratorial element there. But it's nothing. You're not a tinfoil hat person. You're just somebody who was finding some discrepancies, mostly around missing persons. So some of those people were just missing. They were not, in the rubble. Felix, I hated to do this to you. Actually, no, I didn't. I thought you'd love this. You're a cryptographer for the NSA. I figured with your math background, it made the most sense.
Yeah, sweet. I can do that.
So, yeah, you're a code breaker. And as for me, I worked the front desk at the CIA, like the meter greeter. So, just enough security clearance to get in trouble.
All right. So that's quite an interagency task force that you've got going. So Yelena and Tara are going to drive to Dr. Barbas's place. Sarah and Felix, is there something that the two of you would like to look into while that's happening? Do you want me to sort of suggest some threads that you might want to follow up, or?
Really quickly, if anybody wants to change that, like, which organization you're working for, which, TLA that you're a part of, please feel free.
No, I'm good.
Homeland Security covers a lot of bases.
I just got to figure out how to weave why a USDA agent is with a Homeland Security agent visiting a forensic.
You don't have to share your badge.
That's true.
Yeah.
So Sarah and Felix, what are you going to do?
What do you think, Blake?
I was actually just thinking about the astronomy side of it. Is there like a 20-year cycle to do with why, is some way our solar system interacts with Aldebaran or Carcosa or whatever in a way that goes over 20 years? Because you know how like some comets have a 70-year cycle and stuff?
So My suggestions for things that it would make sense for the two of you to do, one is just to go along to Dr. Barbas's house with the others. The other is you now have two sort of points of connection for the Samagina family to all of what's going on. So you could go to the Samagina house and see if you can talk to someone there. You're obviously welcome to do other things instead.
You know, I would not suggest this until after the rational, sensible people have left.
Uh-huh.
Felix, how would you feel about doing a ritual? Because we found two people named Semagina so far. Maybe we should have a talk with Semagina.
YOLO, as the kids say.
All right. So we'll start with Tara and Yelena, and we'll come back to your ritual a little bit later. So, Tara and Yelena, you drive to the Barbas address in sort of suburban Massachusetts. The house is an uneven 2-story bungalow. It stands out a little because the lawn seems quite unkempt compared to the neighbours. Everyone else's property is looking very finely maintained. His not so much. What do you do?
Go up to the front door, ring the doorbell.
All right. There's no response.
Knock hard, just to make sure.
There's definitely no answer. Knocking hard, ringing, anything like that. As you stand there, you're going to hear some sort of machine noise from inside the house. It seems to be coming from upstairs. It's a kind of repetitive clanking noise, strong enough to make the glass in the door shake. And after a few minutes, you do hear a man's voice yell something. You can't quite make it out from here, and the noise stops. The other thing that you'll notice is that there's a lot of mail sitting on the porch unopened. A bunch of it, even without looking or opening it, you can see a lot of it is like overdue bills and things like that with big red warning stamps on it.
Maybe let's go around back, see if the back door's open.
Check the front door, see if it's open. Just
it's locked.
Completeness sake. But yeah, let's see if we can find a way to enter non-violently.
Why don't you can both make me a search roll. And I'd also I assume that, tell me about whether you're trying to avoid being seen or whether we're calling for a stealth roll here or not.
Not doing anything that looks too furtive yet.
Okay, but you're not trying to avoid being seen per se.
Okay. No, but we're not. But
taking reasonable care.
Just being.
We have credentials at least.
And at this point we're just being sort of the concerned person,
Sure.
called to the door kind of thing.
Okay.
So I managed to miss my search roll skill.
Well, Yelena has a critical success. So the first place that Yelena looks, she finds a key hidden for the front door.
I'll just be like, you Americans never learn. As I open the fake rock.
That's funny because that's exactly what the text says, that it's concealed in a fake rock.
All right. So let's open the front door and go in.
Okay. So the first thing that you notice as you go in is the strong smell of petrol inside, just like when you met Agent Exeter at the restaurant. You open onto kind of a pretty big open area, like a living room, dining room type of thing. You can see that there are some stairs straight ahead that lead up to the upper story, and some other rooms on the lower floor that you can't see from where you are. But the main thing that you see, the most striking thing that's immediately apparent as you look in here is, let's see, a large standing machine that you've seen before. It's the same machine that chased you through the night floors. It's not moving, it seems to be inert, but it's unmistakably the same thing, or the same design, maybe not the same like individual machine. What do you do?
Is that where the smell of gasoline is coming from?
The smell of gasoline is coming from everywhere, definitely all around you. As you sort of look around the room, like that was the most obvious thing, but there's all kinds of like weird bits of machinery, drive shafts, industrial counterweights, strange big bits of chunks of machinery that have been disassembled and reassembled in strange combinations. There's also tools. There's some old books lying on the floor. Everything is just a bit of a mess.
What the hell is that?
That's the thing that chased us in the night floors, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I didn't. Tara didn't see it.
Right.
Oh, okay. Then I'll say that's the thing that chased us in the night floors.
That's the machine, or something like that.
This one is a lot less spinning with deadly blades, but yes.
Excuse me a moment. I'm going to get something out of the car.
What are you going to get from the car?
I'm going to get my duffel, which has my fire axe in it.
Nice.
It would make me feel better.
Yeah. Yelena, are you carrying any weapons at the moment?
Yes, I think I have my gun.
Right. So we'll come back and pick up with you in just a minute. Felix and Sarah, you start your ritual. Or do you talk about it all first? Do you want to just go straight to the ritual? What's the plan?
I'd actually look and say, Felix, how much do you want to know about what I'm about to do?
I've got 45 and a cold, so I probably have some idea. Just tell me what you need me to do.
You know how to do a protective circle?
Yeah, I can do that.
Make one around me.
Okay. Just because I'm getting paranoid in my autumn years, you might want to check it afterwards, but I'll start drawing it up.
If you're gonna be paranoid about it, then make two.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna give you a heads up that if anything goes sideways,
I'll knock you out.
Problem? I was going to ask you if you have a problem with shooting me.
I'll try and knock you out first.
Okay.
I did judo for 10 years. I think I can do it.
Don't break the protective circle.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying you might want to shoot me.
Okay.
I mean, I need immediate answers here, which is why I'm considering doing what I'm doing. So
yeah,
it's
I'll take your gun. I'll put it in my pocket. But yeah, we'll do the circles, and hopefully we don't need any of it.
And I'll start making the sign of once those circles are drawn, I'll start drawing the sign of Semigina inside them.
So once you've prepared the ritual space, there's an invocation that Sarah or either or both of you need to read. I'm going to post it in the chat and would love for whoever's going to do the invocation just to read it aloud.
Yeah, there's no way I'm going to let Felix do that. Felix has kids. Thee I invoke, the bornless one. Thee that didst create the earth and the heavens, thee that didst create the night and the day, thee that did create the darkness and the light. Thou art Osoronifris, who no man has seen at any time.
And with that, I think we'll take our first break and we'll come back and find out what happens next. Is 10 minutes good for everyone?
10 minutes works for me.
Cool.
My kiddo has decided she wants to hang out with me in here while I'm playing, and she's playing on her iPad. Alternating between some weird little game that she likes to play and watching Bluey.
It's a fine cultural institution.
So I've
I
heard.
used to play Star Wars Galaxies, and my kid would sit in my lap and watch me fight stormtroopers. It's one of her favorite things to do. Kids, they like to watch what their adults are doing.
Yeah. I got a laptop recently. It's been a couple of years since I've had the money spare to get one. But thanks to my son, one of the first things I installed on it was Roblox, which is, if you've ever seen it, has terrible graphics. You do not need a good computer to run it. But he likes to play together, so it's like, okay.
I'm sure it's intentional design so that kids can play it on whatever they have.
Yeah.
Designed for the lowest common denominator platform. That's actually sensible. Yeah, the funny thing is, a lot of my life with my kid has been me telling her about things like, say, Minecraft and Fortnite, back when they were, just little things. Like, I backed Minecraft, or I picked up Minecraft in pre-alpha or in pre-beta. And I bought Fortnite on release back before there was any idea of multiplayer. So, like 2 or 3 years later, it's like, didn't you mention this to me? It's like, yeah, but you weren't interested in it. But it's huge now. It's like, yeah, but you weren't interested in it.
I liked it before it was cool.
All right, so let's pick up downstairs at Dr. Barbas's house. So it is quite dark inside around 8 p.m. So you're probably going to have to turn on some lights or have some sort of light source if you want to do more detailed investigation. But you are definitely seeing that someone upstairs is moving around, occasionally passing by the top of the staircase, and it looks like they're using a torch. There's no lights on upstairs that you can see.
Well,
What do you do?
I'm thinking, considering all of the past due bills, I imagine their electrical has been shut off.
Seems likely, but I have a flashlight.
I would imagine I do too.
Just the murder bot there.
So I guess I don't know. What are we? We're here to question him, right? So,
Yes, assuming that's Dr. Barbas upstairs.
fair, assuming that. I would like to. Is there any obvious place for a power source in this machine?
No.
Because I really do not want this to suddenly turn on.
It's not plugged in. It doesn't appear to have a battery. It seems to run by some sort of clockwork. What role will we say? Is there a mechanical engineering skill or something like that? Make a heavy machinery roll, maybe?
Yeah.
Heavy machinery.
I can roll that too.
So I think that probably Tara is more likely to know that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes. I made it.
So it's clear to you that this thing has no power source and cannot possibly do anything.
Right. Except that it's multi-ton and it's on the staircase.
It's not on the staircase. It's just sitting on the floor in the lounge room.
Oh, it's sitting on the floor. So maybe it's just a sculpture. Maybe it's not powered. Maybe we shouldn't make any assumptions about it.
The only way this could possibly move is by some sort of unnatural force.
Yes, there's certainly not any of those around.
Yes, you have no reason to be concerned whatsoever.
What kind of
absolutely.
What kind of is it humanoid? Is
No,
it
not at all.
a wheeled thing? Is
It's
it like a spidery?
Yeah, I'd say more spidery. It doesn't have any sort of central mass or anything like that. It's made basically out of like pipes. Let me find the description. It is greased steel pipes connected by iron flywheels, cogs, and small gearboxes that protrude from its otherwise thin silhouette. At first glance, it looks like the innards of a giant inverted industrial umbrella without the cloth, or a weapons-grade hat rack.
Weapons grade hat rack. That's the name of my next band.
I have to admit, when we first encountered this thing, I was imagining those like Dwemer Guardians from Skyrim,
Not familiar.
but not even close.
Well, let's try going up the stairs then, carefully.
I'm gonna withdraw my gun.
All right. Let's see. So,
Keep a close eye on it.
as you get to the top of the stairs, what can you see? You sort of come out in a hall. You can see that there are bedrooms on either side of you. You can't particularly, you're not, well, I guess you probably saw which way the light went most recently. So assuming that you're going to follow that, you're heading into the bedroom to your right. Is that?
Yes.
That's right. So we'll come back to you, I think, and we'll see what you find in that bedroom. Sarah, you complete the invocation. I'm going to get you to just roll, make a percentile roll for me. Not any particular skill.
Okay. $42.
All right.
The answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Perfect. The moment that you complete the invocation, Felix's phone rings. Which I imagine is a little unnerving for both of you.
I yelled, "Don't answer it."
You made a call.
I'm holding it, but I haven't answered it.
So it's going to be like an unknown caller.
Toss it to me.
Okay.
Sarah, you're going to answer it?
Yep.
And how do you answer?
I'm just going to answer the phone. I'm not actually going to say anything.
Okay, so you hear a sort of soft woman's voice say, Felix? I'm calling for Felix. She uses his surname, which I don't know off the top of my head. Straussman.
Outstanding. I found this phone and I couldn't figure out who it belongs to.
Is Felix with you now?
I'm sorry. I don't know who this Felix is. Like I said, I found this phone. I mean, it's an expensive-ish phone, so I wanted to try to get it back to him.
I think that you do know Felix, and I'm going to tell you what I was going to tell him. Felix called a phone number recently that belonged to a friend of mine, a woman named Marsha. I wanted to give Felix the sad news that Marsha passed away more than 10 years ago. But if he is, as I assume, an old friend of Marsha's and had an important reason to try and call her, I'd like to speak to him about it. So Felix is available. Please put him on the phone.
Felix is just shaking his head going, no, but not saying anything aloud.
I'm going to put it on speakerphone and say, go ahead.
Can Felix hear me now? Neither
I'll
of you are
point
going to
you.
answer.
Do we recognise the voice at all? Because they've said a couple of sentences by now.
You don't.
That's not comforting.
It's an old friend of Masha, Felix.
Okay. I'm here. You knew Marsha?
Yes, I'd like us to meet and talk about your memories of Marsha. I'm happy for you to name a time and a place. I do, I guess, what would I say? I knew Marsha through work. I assume that you did as well. There's got to be a reason that you were calling her. It's probably better that we don't discuss it over an open line. Tell me where you'd like to meet.
See, part of me is saying, should I name the same date and time as the other one? Let's rock up. And part of me is going, no friggin' way, let's never do that. Let's go.
If you want to think about it, I'll call you back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Is there any reason we can't meet now?
You're in Boston?
Are we?
We are.
I can't remember. We're in Boston or New York?
Yes.
We're in Boston, yeah. Yeah, we're in Boston.
I can meet you now. Whereabouts?
There's a park.
Not that cafe where I was sitting and waiting?
Yeah, we can go that one if you know that one.
You invite her to a cafe?
Yep.
The one across the street from the restaurant.
Okay. She says, I'll be there in 1 hour. Is that all right?
That's fine.
Good. And she'll hang up.
And I will start looking at, the sign under my feet and the circles of protection. It's like, well, shit.
Did you finish the ritual, or was that the result of the ritual? I feel like we went silent
Felix,
a second.
sometimes with this stuff, you just don't ask questions. Okay? It's better not to know.
That's why we were doing it, though. But we're going to ask.
But if you'll notice, we just got something adjacent to an answer. I'm not questioning the means.
I feel like we did. I feel like we didn't. Okay.
Yeah. Little column A, little column B. But now I need to make it look like this didn't happen so that Yelena doesn't yell at me.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me what you need me to do, and I'll help.
You got a dust devil?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I need you to run out real quick and grab a dust devil. Don't worry, we'll still make the meat. Just be quick about it.
Okay.
Less standing, more dust devil getting.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to cut back to Tara and Yelena. So in the bedroom, you find the carpets have been ripped up, the furniture has been torn over. There is a hibachi micro grill on the floor next to a futon. The wood floor is being chipped. It's kind of obviously scratched and chipped. At a glance, you think that's probably, or it would be consistent with, that machine downstairs having walked around on the floor here. Like that's the sort of marks that it would have left if it was possible for it to move. And covering like a large space on the ground is the seal of Marbus, one of the demon. Well, a demonic seal. You recognize it. You probably don't. You can make an occult roll to see if you know which one it is. Obviously, I've just told you by accident.
I'll take a photograph of it.
Yeah.
For our resident demonic seal expert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I do have the second highest occult, so I could probably.
Yeah, if you want to roll occult,
I'll take a photo of it too, just in case there's some little difference.
All right.
I have
critical success.
I have a high forensics background, so
critical success. So you definitely are going to recognize it.
You got a 66 as your critical success.
Just what it is.
To recognize a demonic signal. I'm just saying.
Do I win a prize?
So you recognize this as the seal of Marbus, a demon in the Ars Goetia. He's described, you recall, as the great president of hell, governing 36 legions of demons. He answers truly on hidden or secret things, causes and heals diseases, teaches mechanical arts, and changes men into other shapes. He is depicted as a great lion that, under the conqueror's request, changes shape into a man. Because it's a critical success, I think you also, Dr. Barbas will emerge from a door at the far end of the bedroom. Just from the layout, you think it must be a closet. He is wearing like a mining helmet with a lamp on it, and that makes it hard to see his face because the light is shining like directly at the two of you. He stops abruptly as he sees that the two of you are there.
Dr. Barbas.
Yes.
We need to ask you a few questions, and perhaps we can help you too.
Well, very good. I'm quite busy, but if you can ask your questions while I continue, then that will be fine. And he walks towards you. And as he walks towards you, you notice the smell of petrol, you notice the crumpling of paper underneath his clothes, and as his face comes into focus, you realize that this is Agent Exeter, the same person who gave you your assignment.
Huh.
And he will pick up, he sort of reaches back into the closet behind him, picks up a box and starts carrying it past you and says, "So what did you want to ask?"
So, like, no recognition. Like, he doesn't seem to register that he's seen us before, or?
If he does, he doesn't give any sign of it.
Right, I'll be like, so is it Dr. Barbas, Agent Exeter, or Marbus? Marbus? Was that the name of the demon?
Marbus, I believe, is the name of a demon. I go by both of those names. You're welcome to call me by either of them.
So you're all of these people.
Well, you must have a code name as well.
You interviewed several patients at Dorchester House, Dr. Barbas.
No, I don't think so.
The records show that you were there. So yes, you did.
Or at least somebody using your name.
Well.
Or one of your names.
No, I've never been to the Dorchester myself.
So, who has?
Is he blind?
Yeah, go ahead and make a human roll.
Yeah.
So, both of you can do that.
Yes.
Yeah, he's lying.
Yes.
He is moving around. Like, unless you physically stop him, he's gonna basically make you follow him around the house. And he carries this box into the other bedroom on the second floor. And what you see there is another strange machine. This one is approximately the size of a water cooler. It's sitting on a desk. It has some parts that resemble a printer or a typewriter. And he starts to take red leather-bound books out of the box and load them into this machine one by one. What do you say or do?
So I think
Yeah.
I think I'll just say, so if you already had something to do with those patients going missing, why did you even bother giving us this case? You're not working for Delta Green, obviously.
I definitely am working for Delta Green. What a strange thing to
Dr.
say.
Barbas, please don't lie to us. This just makes everything harder.
I think rather than making you do another human roll, we'll just let your successes roll on. Even though he was lying about visiting the hospital, he is telling the truth, or at least thinks he is, in saying that he's working for Delta Green.
Yes. Why did you see the patient at the hospital? What did you talk to him about?
I told you I didn't speak to the patients.
Yes, you did told us.
We already know that's a lie.
But we know that's a lie. So cut it out.
Stop it.
He finishes loading the books into the machine and activates it. This one doesn't appear to have a power source either, although you haven't examined it closely.
Yeah.
And it starts to process the books in some way and sort of eject them at the bottom. And he'll sort of again leave the room and start walking towards a closet in the hallway. He says, "Listen, you're supposed to report to me. I'm not supposed to report to you. Have you
Elena.
found the missing patients?"
Yeah, I'm going. So I'm going to try to color him before he leaves the room.
Okay. Let's find out what the Delta Green grappling rules look like. Okay. I did not write down the grappling rules. So I think just make what's the skill for fighting? It's going to be an opposed roll versus his dodge skill.
Okay.
Is it?
There's
unarmed
combat.
Unarmed combat.
Yeah, thank you. So basically the way this works, it's a little bit more complicated than this, but the person who rolls the highest value that's under their skill is going to be more successful. Does that make sense?
Yep.
All right.
I succeeded with a 27.
All right. He rolls a 64. Okay, he does not manage to get out of the way. You're able to grab him. And he screams as you grab him and starts to writhe pretty violently, trying to get away. But you've got a good hold on him. I think we'll come back to you and we'll just go to the others. So, Felix and Sarah, is there anything that you want to do or set up before you arrive at the cafe?
I'm gonna make sure my gun's loaded. And I'm also taking my glasses, the ones with the small camera in them. You know, just so there's a record in case we need it. You know, like in case Yelena and Tara have to pick up where we left off.
Sure. Felix, what about you?
No. Oh, I'm going to sit where I can see, like if there's like a side door and a front door, I'll sit where I can see both. So I'll have a good sitting position. Other than that's about all I can do.
And I'll get both of you to make an alertness roll.
Sweet. Now I've got keen senses because I'm clever clogs. Okay, let's have a look. Percentage 61. Yes. So
That's a success.
well, my alertness is 41, but I've got keen senses alert thing. So
Keen senses is just like descriptive. It doesn't really have a mechanical impact.
All right, I failed then. Sweet.
So mine is 13 under 33.
All right. So Sarah, as you come in, both of you see a woman sitting at a table who sort of looks up at you, makes eye contact. It's clear that this is the person that you're here to see. Sarah, what you notice is that there are two other people sitting separately at tables around the cafe, which probably is not that busy at this time of night, who you immediately make as, other agents.
I'll nod at them.
They will return your nod. They're not particularly trying to hide. Then do you go to talk to the woman?
Might as well.
I'm gonna get some coffee first. Are you kidding? And I'm going to gesture to her to say, like, kind of pointing at the menu, like, you want something?
She just holds up a cup that she's drinking from already.
And then I say, Felix, good coffee here. My pair lost chance.
Have a shit. I don't know. I'm not a coffee drinker. I'll have a mocha.
All right.
And then you sit down with her.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you both for coming. This seems like a reasonably safe place for us to talk. So I'm going to be frank and forthcoming with you. I work for the same program that Marsha did. I assume that you're familiar with it. We do not have good records or files from the 1990s, which would have been the last time that you could have had contact with Marsha. So I wonder why you contacted her and whether there's something that we should be concerned about.
We came across a familiar case to one we worked on with Marsha, and we just wanted to touch base with her to clarify how familiar and similar it was or not. We don't have a problem with Marsha. We weren't looking to waste her or anything like that. As far as we know, we were parted on good terms.
Felix, we called Masha because we think you were handed an assignment by an agent who subsequently turned up at a meeting of a cult that was part of the investigation he asked us to undertake, and we're concerned that if he's still working for the program, that he may have been compromised. And also, we're concerned that even though he had a code word, even though he used the proper protocols, this may not be him working anything for the program. This may be something that he's doing off of the books. And it, like Felix said, it is directly related to something that we worked on with Masha, which was the reason why I have had no contact with the program since.
The situation you worked on for Marsha involved an unnatural force of some kind?
I don't know. Does a third-story building that somehow stretches on endlessly and have stories above the third floor count as a natural phenomena?
It was influencing the residents, and we had to get them out.
And related to an architect who is also a serial killer. So, there's that.
All right. So I think the best thing for you to do is to consider the agent who assigned you this case to be the new target of your investigation, and to report to me whatever it is that you find about him.
And, not to be rude, but you are...
You can call me Melissa.
Okay. And not to be overly suspicious, I see you brought backup, but can you, in some way, shape, or form, prove that you are who you say you are, that you're connected with the program, that you're an agent in good standing or a handler in good standing? Because we're already in the shit, it feels like. And I kind of want to make sure we don't get into more shit,
What would satisfy you? I can have someone from ACEL contact you, but how would you know that they were real?
And I look at Felix and say, Felix, you're the person who's been working with DG in the last 20 years. What would satisfy you? Because you'd have more direct knowledge of current operational protocols than I will.
I feel like this might be something my character knows that my player doesn't.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm also struggling. Like, it's not really clear to me what the members of this conspiracy, that it doesn't really exist on paper, can tell you to convince you that they're real. I think she's going to say, "You're just going to have to trust me."
Hold on 1 second. So you were a friend of Masha's?
I never met Agent Marsha.
Okay. I'm sorry, I thought you might have access to her old notes, or
I can access certain files that Marsha kept.
I'll tell you what would convince me. Any name of any resident of the McAllister building, or telling me what happened with the McAllister.
Do you have an address?
If I gave you an address, you'd know how to find it. If it's in her papers, and it should be, you'll be able to tell us.
Well,
Because that'll at least prove that you knew Masha. And although I didn't like her, I trusted her.
All right. I'll see what I can do. She gives each of you her card, which shows that she's an FBI agent professionally, and has a contact number for her on it. And she says, "I'll be back in touch if I can find the information that you've requested. I hope that you will consider calling me if anything important comes up, even if I haven't been able to get back to you yet."
I will.
And I wish you both all the best.
I start laughing, and it's like, we all work for the same program. We know that just doesn't happen.
She smiles a bit sadly and gets up and leaves. And after she's left, the two other agents get up and leave. I'm going to cut back to the others, and maybe the two of you can think about whether there's anything that you want to do next in the chat or something like that. So, Tara, you have sort of like grabbed or pinned down Dr. Barbas. What do you do?
Answer the question.
Sorry, remind me what the question was. It was why he saw the patient.
The question was, why did he talk to the patients? What did he find out?
I was acting under instructions from Delta Green. I'm not at liberty to discuss them with you.
I am fucking Delta Green, you asshole. Answer the question. And you know that because you recruited us. Enough bullshit.
He does think that he's telling the truth. So I'm just going to let your human rolls ride. What did they couldn't tell me anything useful. I had questions for them on behalf of Delta Green. I'm not supposed to discuss those questions with anyone, including other agents. But what they told me was not useful. They didn't know.
And that's true.
He believes that it's true.
He believes this.
So,
what did?
Oh, so go ahead.
What did they tell you? And if you know, it's like we'll decide whether it's useful.
The questions had to do with a place called Carcosa.
Yes.
There was a suggestion that they might know of a way to access this place, but none of them had that information.
And why do you want to get there so badly?
I don't want to get there. I was acting under instructions from Delta Green. This time, you can tell that he's lying about not wanting to get there.
Yes, I'll be like,
you let him.
I'll look at her and be like, sounds a lot like what the residents of the McAllister want.
I agree.
Oh.
So, and it'll probably be as useful as talking with him as with the residents in McAllister. So, shall we then?
Be like, so he believes that he's working for Delta Green, and he believes that his assignment to us is a legitimate assignment.
Yeah, that's right.
From what I understand.
But
Okay.
he also personally desires to get to Carcosa.
Okay. I'll be like, who is your Delta Green handler? Surely you can give us their name.
He says in the other room and gestures back towards the bedroom that you just came out of.
That's a lie.
I'll be like, I didn't ask you where they were. I asked you what their name was.
The machine gives me my instructions.
That I can believe.
So the machine downstairs, is that where he gestured?
Yeah.
No, the one with the like typewriter parts that he was feeding the books into.
Oh, did he retrieve whatever it shot? Like,
no, it's still, you can still hear it like doing whatever it was doing.
okay.
Elena?
Yes.
I'm going to shoot Elena a look. We've worked before. It was a long time. Do you think that drastic measures are called for here?
I'll sort of be like, knock him out. Let's see what the machine feeds out, and then we can decide.
Can I knock him unconscious? Or will that be a horrible protracted thing?
I mean, you've got him restrained. There's two of you and one of him. He's not especially tough. I think you can knock him out.
Okay, we'll do that.
I'll hit him with I'll pistol whip him.
I'm going to. Then I'm
just going to choke.
And then what I'm going to do when he's unconscious is I'm going to take photographs of this machine, and then I'm going to take the axe to it.
Okay.
I'll be like, let's wait to see what it spits out first.
So you can definitely see, like, he's put the box underneath it and it's been spitting out. So he fed these leather-bound red books into it. It's still working through the pile, but the first of them have come out.
What are these books?
And as they go in, they're just blank sort of notebooks. Yeah. As they come out, they're a complete printed copy of The King in Yellow.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Do we have a copy of The King in Yellow?
I'm sure you'll land.
I have a copy of The King in Yellow.
Yeah, you have a copy of The King in Yellow, right? So, well, So take these copies to throw on the first fire we can put together, and I'm going to smash the machine.
The machine leaks some sort of strange, like blood red oil as you smash it, but you do smash it. You destroy it pretty easily.
I'm gonna like just flip through one of these copies before it gets burned. Does it appear to be?
We're not going to burn it here. Let's take these and get out. Yeah. And then you can flick through the car, and we can burn them.
Should we check the closet?
Yeah, we'll just have a quick look around to see if there's anything else.
Quick look around the closet in particular, or the house as a whole?
Probably both.
And what are you doing with Dr. Barbas? Is he just lying unconscious in the hallway?
Like, he believes that he's doing Delta Green work for some reason.
The ghost of Sarah is speaking in my head. And for the first time, I think she's right.
Interesting.
Oh. Can we find... before we leave, I would like to find any... If he said the machine gives him his instructions, I would like to find if he's kept those instructions somewhere. Like, if it spits out something more than the King of Yellow, I'd like to see if I can find
So you can do that without rolling because you're going to find examples just on the floor around the machine where it's spat them out.
Okay.
What will you find particularly? You find some copies of the invitation that all of you received to the meeting at the restaurant. These are the printouts are defective in some way, so you can see that it's like tried a few times before it got the versions that you received. There's also a single sheet of paper that's been printed with each of your names and home addresses or whatever address you were at when you received the invitation.
Right.
So we got the invitations from Exeter. Barbas. Marbus?
Well, more than one name. Yeah, I know you still smoke.
You ask if a Russian smokes.
You've been an American for years now.
I'll be like, I'll pull out my lighter.
I can't believe I'm doing this. But there's nobody in here except for him. And he can't. Yeah, so I'm going to tie him up. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to tear pages out of these things and scatter them around just to give you a little tinder. But there's so much gasoline smell in this place, it's going to go up.
I'll look at Tara and I'll be like, listen, burning to death is a bad way to go. We can at least give him a little mercy.
Go ahead. I don't think I'm...
All right, so I guess we're doing this. Pillow to muffle the sound.
All right. You execute him. Make a resilience check.
Yeah, I figured that was coming. Okay, what did I? 68 is my resilience right now. Ooh, 54 current. So is that a 1d4 loss or?
I think, is this the first time that you've killed someone in cold blood?
In cold blood, yes. I think for survival, maybe not the first one.
I think it's going to be 1d8.
All right. Where is the d8? Nope, that's the thing. I know my dice shapes.
4. All right, so that's a pretty significant loss, but you hold it together. One more point would have seen you freeze or flee or something like that. Do either or both of you want to have a quick search of the house, like make one search roll before you get out, before you light it up? All right, so just both of you a search roll.
Made.
So you're both going to succeed. So let's see. Yelena, you were particularly interested in the closet, so I think that you will find something there. In the back of Dr. Dallin's closet is set into the wall a set of iron bars, wide enough apart that you could pass a small object the size of, say, a red notebook through them. And on the other side of the bars, there's a small red door with a mail slot in it. That's what you find.
I bet this leads to the night floors.
It's definitely too small for a person to move through. It's only just big enough for a book to be passed through.
Right.
That's how the first book came through.
Tara, what you find is downstairs in the kitchen, there's a cell phone, a sort of cheap flip phone with a prepaid card that's had an occult symbol, one of the demonological signs carved into it. And with that, it's time to burn the house down, I think.
Yeah. So after after tossing people around, I'm going to go outside and get the car running with the lights off.
Sure.
So that we will have.
I'll stay in the driver's seat just so that we can go right away.
Are you going to make Tara do it?
Well, Tara probably has the best chance to do it without damaging any other house.
It's a freestanding house. It's not likely to spread to the neighbors.
Okay, then I won't make Tara do it.
All right.
I'll do it.
All right. Tara, I think you must need to make a resilience check as you finally break this long-standing vow.
Failed.
It's a failure. So I think 1d6 in resilience damage.
We are not doing.
I'm going to take more from burning a house down than you are from from killing somebody in cold blood.
Killing a dude.
No, not quite.
Oh, so it hurts, but you hold it together.
Once, and I can't even call the fire department.
You definitely cannot.
No, because we want this to burn to the ground.
All right.
And if there's any accelerants lying around, like gasoline and stuff like that, just uncork them and pour them out.
I mean, it was just everywhere. Like you definitely have the sense that this place is going to go up extremely quickly. So, Felix and Sarah, was there anything else you wanted to do tonight, or are you just basically waiting for the others to get back?
So I mean, drive away a few blocks, and then I'll turn on the lights.
Okay, sure.
I'll look at Felix after Melissa's left and after the other agents have left and say, I'm not sure whether our ritual worked. If it did, this may be a worse outcome.
Yeah.
Sarah, as you say that, your phone rings.
I'll look at it. Who's calling?
So there is a number. It's a local number, but you don't recognize it.
I'll answer it.
A woman's voice says, I can tell you how they died. Make an alertness check.
That is 2 under 33.
Right. So you recognize Esther Samagina's voice. You also sense that she's talking in this very precise way, as if she's reading from a script or being prompted or something like that.
And I'm going to look at Felix and mouth the words, "It worked." And say, which, if you'll excuse the impertinence, which Samagina am I talking to?
What will she say? She said, that's right, Samagina. Do you want me to tell you how they died?
Please. And I'll motion to Felix for some paper and a pencil.
Who do you want to know about?
Let's start with the Marine.
I need a name.
I see. Can you remind me, out of character, what the names of the patients were?
Filtnall.
I'm sure that Blake's right. The Marine, Erica Feltner.
Yes.
She says Felnor is not dead.
Very well. How about Pesco?
Pesco is not dead.
Malta?
Malta is not dead.
Well, let's see if we can make it 4 for 4. How about Mogan?
Are you going to ask me about anyone who's actually died?
How about Abigail?
Abigail Wright is not dead. I'm going to end this call unless you give me the name of a dead person.
How about my dad?
Is your
I
dad
know
dead?
that. Oh, I know that motherfucker's dead. I went to his funeral and poked his corpse to make sure.
So she will answer with the exact sort of cause, location, date, and time of his death in explicit detail. And then she'll end the call. She'll just hang up. And, it's consistent with whatever you've always believed about your father's death.
I'll look over at Felix and say, Felix, I think you're going to want a little bit of this for what I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to reach into my purse and pull out a flask, and I'm going to pour some whiskey into my cup, and I'm going to pass the flask over to you.
Sure. Take a swig.
Abigail Wright isn't dead.
Good.
None of the people who went missing from Dorchester House are dead.
What about the people that used to live at the
McAllister?
Yeah, the McAllister.
Look.
Maybe they're all dead. And that's what the demon was inferring. Or whoever the hell you just talked to.
It was Esther Semagina, but I don't think Esther was at the controls.
You saying she's like a medium or something? Or some sort of
No,
hypnosis
possession.
thing? Much better.
Because there's no way Esther would have been able to get the information about how my dad died and all that and all those specifics. Not in the time that we've had, not in the time that she's been aware of us.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Like I said, Abigail is indeed alive. Abigail Wright is still kicking somewhere. So yes, right.
Right.
Again, yes, she's still kicking.
She might be insane or locked in a dream state or in the ninth floors or who knows what, but she's not dead. Cool.
She's not dead. So, and neither are the 4 people who disappeared from the Dorchester.
Well,
as for everybody else, McAllister, I guess Agent Melissa will have some more information on that, right?
Maybe. But before I go into
the on the bright side of things, Felix, at least we know that at least now we know Agent Melissa wasn't proof that the ritual worked because this happened.
But I mean, shock horror, it also means we're being watched or people are looking into us.
Not for fuck. I don't. Like you weren't expecting that.
Before I go and meet Bart, I want to meet up with the others so we can at least recap on where we are and see if they've got anything. I hope they have, because I'm not quite confused enough at the minute.
So let's take our break here. We'll go take a 5-minute break and we'll come back. You can all reassemble and figure out a plan.
By the way, I made a comment in side chat that the talking heads burning down the house seemed kind of prophetic, and then I looked at the lyrics and I kind of wonder if is this a Carcosan incursion?
Yeah. Funny that you ask. I do a community radio show here, and this is our theme song.
Burning down the house?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was just reading through those lyrics, and it's like, oh wait, this is getting uncomfortably similar to our plot.
First is Coldplay. Now it's Talking Heads.
Look, it's not my fault that I have spent most of my life filling my heads with pop songs instead of calculus. Okay, that's actually entirely my fault.
It's not all the Talking Head songs are from Carcosa. Have you looked at the lyrics of Once in a Lifetime? You may ask yourself, what is that beautiful house? You ask yourself, where does that highway go to? And you ask yourself, am I right? Am I wrong? You may say to yourself, my God, what have I done?
Life during wartime sure fits.
This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. I mean, surreality is a big theme in the Talking Heads.
All right. So by the time that you all get done with the things that you've been doing, it's probably around midnight. I propose, if you want to do something else with your night, you can. That everyone goes, gets the best night's rest that they're able to in the circumstances, and that you meet up again in the morning to talk about what you're going to do next. Does that sound right to people?
I sure as hell don't want to tell Yelena and Tara that I summoned a demon before they go to bed. After they wake up, it's much better.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Yelena is terrible to talk about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Yelena is going to tell Sarah.
Not. We're having a conversation, and the thing is like, we are not talking about this until the morning. Please.
I mean, Yelena, you're going to go back to bed with Sarah, presumably. You certainly have the privacy to talk about it if you want.
I just asked, please don't.
Why? How can you ask me not to tell her?
In the morning. I'm not going to ask her not asking you not to tell her. It's like, I really don't want to talk about it tonight. I really don't.
Well, you don't have to talk about it.
Well, yes, I do. If you talk about it, we're all going to end up talking about it. You know that.
Yeah, in the morning.
Let's talk about it in the morning, okay?
Okay. Yelena proceeds to get drunk, and we'll still talk to her.
Do you want to roleplay the conversation?
I'm fine with that. Because now it's this time Sarah comes home and Yelena is drunk.
Huh. So I'm putting you to bed tonight?
With the cheap vodka, and that's how she knows something is really wrong, because it's the bad vodka.
I mean, you're drinking the rot gut stuff.
Like, it's all I deserve.
Oh, Jesus fuck. Look, don't turn into your Uncle Yuri, okay? I know how you get maudlin when you're drunk, especially on that shit.
I'll be like, Barbas. Barbas was Exeter. Exeter is Barbas. Maybe he's Narbus.
Wait.
We killed him. We killed him.
All right. Let me ask you a couple questions. So Agent Exeter was the forensic pathologist for the Stades.
I'll just nod with the bottle in my hand.
And may also have been a demon.
I'll also nod.
And that last thing that you said, we killed him?
I'll throw the stack of flyers from the support group and some of the blank red notebooks and the paper that had our names and the list of our name and addresses on it. Yet some machine was feeding these red notebooks in it, and it spit other things out. copies of The King in Yellow, this paper with our names on it. He was getting instructions from the other place. They know about us.
I'm going to reach into my purse and pull out my flask and just drink straight from it. Say, so, first of all, I love you. I still love you. I've never really been under any illusions about the kind of stuff that you had to do back in Russia. I know that if you did this, you had a really good reason. I don't need to know what it is, although I think you've already told me. But I love you. I still love you. This doesn't make me love you any less. I mean, think about how we met. Like, we met in a really shitty situation, and honestly, I think that the years of happiness we've had have probably just been paying on the installment plan for the shittiness that's yet to come. So, okay, that happened. But you followed Delta Green protocols, right? You sealed off the infection, the problem. You made sure that it's not going to go any farther, at least from that direction.
I'll lean my head against Sarah's and be like, Tara was the one who suggested we burn the house down. Tara said we should do that.
It doesn't matter how drunk you are, you cannot avoid seeing the smile on my face. And it's like, finally, she fucking listened. I mean, that's how
I'd be like, I only shot him because burning to death was the worst way to go.
Wait, you shot him?
I'll start to sob.
Yelena, hon, please tell me you didn't do it with the gun that we own.
I'll pull the gun out and put it on the table.
Did you get the bullet? Did you get your casing?
Shake my head.
Hey.
Be like, there's a lot of gasoline there. A lot. And not just the stuff we poured. Whatever that shit was coming out of the machine.
Wait, machines? There were more than one?
Some weird printer thing. The killbot, the thing that chased us.
I always wondered if that shit was time folded back on itself for some weird physics that I don't even have. Well, we'd have to talk to Felix about that. Felix can probably explain that part to us. But I'm going to cross my finger. This isn't going to make you feel any better, but we have a new handler.
So I'd like to just sort of draw this scene to a close so that we can get everyone back together.
Yep.
Is there anything that you want to say to each other, like not about the details of what's happened, which you might discuss as a group again later, but is there any like sort of last things that you want to say in terms of your relationship?
Yeah, I'll just say, I love you too. Don't tell Tara I told you.
Of course not. She'd shit kittens if she knew. Let's get you in bed. Let's get you ready. Everything will seem in the morning.
All right. So the next morning, the four of you meet back up again. There's a couple of things that you'll all have sort of found out by the time that happens. So one is, Sarah, you receive an email first thing in the morning. It's there when you wake up. Title History of the McAllister Building. It details, the changes in ownership from the time that it was built for the Lundins through its use by ArtLife when you first encountered it, purchased by what you recognize as a holding company, demolition, other companies that have eventually built the site and bought the site and built on it. Nothing very remarkable until it was occupied about 6 months ago by a fundraising organization working for the presidential campaign of one Emmeline Rios, which stands out to you.
Motherfuck, the delusion was correct.
The other thing which all of you will notice is a couple of big news stories in the morning. One is that the police have arrested a suspect in connection with the serial killings that have plagued Boston recently. No name or details released at this time. The other is that there was a suspicious fire overnight at the home of Director of Forensics for the Boston State Police. Police are considering whether it was a terrorist attack. Nobody was harmed in the fire, and Dr. Barbas is under observation in the hospital but recovering well.
Can I just clarify? Didn't you shoot him in the head? I didn't miss. Yeah. Oh shit.
Have we had that conversation, or are we just like seeing the news and hearing this stuff yet?
Yeah,
so all of you have,
and the news is on in the background or something.
Yeah, something like that. Brandon, you're muted.
We have not had that conversation yet.
So you all meet up and get to have it now.
So I think Felix is he's got like a big Subway sandwich on the outdoor part of the cafe, and points at the TV. Were we going to talk to that guy? Nom nom nom.
We did go talk to him.
Find out anything interesting?
Several things. He is Dr. Barbas was also our alleged handler.
What? The petrol smelling guy, Exeter.
Exeter, yes.
Well, he was our handler. We have a new one now.
Yes, he was our handler, and I think he sincerely believed that he was sending us on a legitimate Delta Green mission, but he was corrupt.
Okay, hang on, Sarah. You said we haven't a handler, so she sent through confirmation that she was legit.
I'll hold up the.
Do you guys want to go first? Why don't you guys go first?
We got a call from.
Go ahead. Go ahead. You broke in about the fact that we have a new handler. So why don't you start?
Because you're really not going to like what we did. So why don't you go first?
Well, that may be all of us. So why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, we got a phone call from Agent Melissa, and she wanted to touch base with us.
And
apparently she was friends with Masha, and Masha's been dead for over a decade.
Yeah, because I tried to contact Masha, and Agent Melissa was responding to that.
Right.
And she obviously has sent some sort of proof to Sarah now, and she thinks we should investigate Agent Exeter. That should be our case now.
Well, we have done that.
This is the proof. This is more than what I asked for, Felix. So she's legit.
I see. And what's the part that we aren't going to like?
How we found out that all four of the people missing from the Dorchester, as well as Abigail Wright, are still alive.
presumably you didn't have the opportunity to meet with them. So how did you?
No. Used other methods.
To it?
I kind of summoned Semagina.
Kind of?
Well, I thought that at first maybe it was Agent Melissa. Maybe there was a really strange manifestation or something like that. And then Melissa left and my phone rang and it was Semagina. So I know how you feel about the ritual type stuff. So it's just Felix and I, double circled of protection, the works. Like it shouldn't blow back on us.
Well, none of us really know enough about such things to be certain of that.
That's why I'm saying it shouldn't blow back on us.
So they're all alive.
All of them.
And is that important?
Well,
she also said Abigail's still alive. Abigail Wright from the case 20 years ago is still alive.
I can believe that. Abigail is presumably in Carcosa.
It got to a point. The conversation actually got a little testy. She asked if I was going to ask about anybody who was actually dead because she wanted to give me information about dead people.
Is that what she does?
It was this time. So finally I told her, all right, tell me about my dad. I know that motherfucker's dead. And she had access to stuff that no one else would have access to. I'm kind of insisting on people proving that they are who they say they are at this point.
So, so what about the others? The patients, I mean.
I was getting information about who was dead and alive. They were not dead. So that means they could be anywhere.
When?
I didn't want to say that, Felix, but thank you very much for adding that cheerful thought to us.
And we have reason to believe that they're channeling aspects of the Yellow King, voluntarily or not.
That or possibly demons, maybe both.
I don't understand what the demons and the Yellow King have to do with each other exactly, but maybe we'll figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the demons could be allies and stop Carcosa from coming here.
Back to Dr. Barbas.
Yeah.
Tara is a lot less thrown by what you have said than you might expect. By the way, we did find this sigil at Dr. Barbas's house. I'll show you the picture. Elena says it's Barbas.
Yeah, so
that is.
There's also the sign that you found carved into the phone, which...
Yeah. Oh, and then there's this phone here.
So the sigil carved into the phone is for the demon Citri.
This was Barbas's burner phone. So Barbas was Exeter. No question about it.
Mm-hmm.
And no question about it, he had become corrupted by Carcosa. But I believe he didn't know that.
Just so I've got this right, there was a police forensic guy, also Delta Green agent who recruited us for this mission to find the 4 people, and a demon. All one person?
I'm not sure he's a demon.
No? Okay.
He didn't exhibit any demonic characteristics.
Okay, so
did we actually catch that news story?
Yeah, you definitely saw on the news that at least the reporting is that he's alive and okay.
Well, they might report
like-
he's alive even if he's dead. He was unquestionably dead when we left him.
Do you actually say that?
Yes.
So,
He
And I'll
was.
glance
He was,
over at you, Lena.
and the reason he was, and the reason we killed him was that he had built this machine, and I show a picture.
I don't know if he built it.
And this machine was turning blank notebooks into copies of The King in Yellow. And he had
Apparently, all of this other stuff.
And he had built it on instructions from what he said was Delta Green, but was certainly not. He clearly had confused the instructions that he may or may not have gotten from Delta Green with Carcosa.
So, Tara, you're an investigator. You have a lot of experience with such things.
Yes.
I have a few very specific questions for you.
So there was enough odd other machinery and things we couldn't understand in that house that we couldn't leave the house standing.
Was it like the machinery in the night floors, or was it different? Was it?
There was that killer machine, but then there was also a barred gateway to a tiny closet with a slot big enough to pass books through. That was there for no reason we could see.
Tara, the question I have for you.
We set fire to that house.
So,
fortunately, it was.
I'm going to put my hand on your shoulder.
It was a detached house, and there wasn't anyone put at risk for it.
Tara, you did what you had to do.
Mm-hmm.
You're my friend. You're my friend before you said this. You're still my friend now. My question is very simple.
Yes.
Was the fire hot enough to incinerate bone?
A few fires are hot enough to incinerate bone. And they'll char bone, but
would they?
You can usually recover teeth and bones from a fire unless, even it really takes pouring gasoline on something and igniting it within a enclosed space to reliably char bones to the point of ash.
I'll look at you, Lena, and say, if you will all excuse me, I need to make a phone call.
Why are you asking with regards to bones?
Because I'm assuming that the fire was hot enough to melt lead and shell casings, but I also wanted to make sure that entry and exit wounds in a skull would be eradicated. And since the fire was not hot enough for that, I need to make a call.
There's certainly, from the point of view of the bullet, there's no you can't once a bullet or a casing in a fire, you can't do ballistics. So they may well recover what was left of it, but there's nothing to trace it from.
And that's all well and good. I just need to make a phone call to ensure that this continues to look like some sort of accident.
This is my fault. I suppose I could have killed him another way, but
I'll
look
at Tara and be like, no, we both did this. You do not take all of the blame.
Hey, we didn't ask to be recruited. This is, we're reacting to a long chain of events. A bunch of other things were.
If we had left him alive, he would have just rebuilt.
No arguments.
And
Tara,
he was printing copies of The King in Yellow.
Listen, You may feel like shit right now.
Yeah, it's kind
You
of
did the right thing, and you were doing it not just to protect everyone. Think about your kids and your husband.
I understand.
So you get 5 minutes to feel like you're an asshole, and then I need you fucking ready.
I'm all right.
Okay.
But don't expect me to feel good about it.
I didn't say anything about you feeling good about it. I said you get 5 minutes to feel like an asshole, and then I need you ready. You can feel like an asshole after all this shit is done for the rest of your life. Although, if I were you, I wouldn't. But I'm not you.
No.
You did exactly what I did.
The police's likely narrative is that someone broke in there to try and steal things, found him, shot him, and set fire to the place to cover their traces.
Well,
Or that it just went up. There was when they investigate the fire, they will find accelerant all over the place.
so you see, this would have happened sooner or later.
Well, not soon enough.
True.
He would have gotten those copies out. And
Look, all I'm saying is you just hastened the inevitable. That's it. You didn't kill anybody. You just
stop. I realize you mean well, but you can stop now.
So I'm going to go call our new handler and let her know that there may be a little bit of cleanup on aisle 9 necessary.
There may not, but you should let them know that this thing took place, and that Dr. Exeter is no longer a person of interest.
You see?
Didn't the news report say he's alive? He's in hospital or something?
Well, yeah, they need to have someone surreptitiously investigate that. I don't think any. I think any of us should be very
not us,
going looking, but they. If he is alive, then there is a great deal more wrong than even the very wrong things we saw.
But just so we're all clear on this, you did the right thing. I know that doesn't make it easier, but you did the right thing.
Call. What's her name?
Agent Melissa. A strangely prosaic name for an agent, don't you think?
It's a name.
So you call Melissa to tell her what?
That there was a fire last night, and there may have been a body recovered from it that has what would look like an entry and exit wound from a 9mm, and that body, at least those bones, that evidence needs to disappear. Also, that Agent Exeter was also the man named Barbas, and it was his house, and it is what should be his body. There is, of course, a news report going that he's in a hospital, and if that's true, you may need to send somebody to make sure the job got done.
Did you collect any evidence from the house before the fire?
Yes.
I mean, so probably Sarah's having this conversation separately, right?
Right, but we showed everything we got to Sarah, including one of the printed out copies of King in Yellow.
And I mentioned the printing machine. I mentioned the King in Yellow that it was spitting out.
Took photos of everything.
Yeah, I'll send the pictures over and relay all the information about how it was supposedly giving Exeter his orders and instructions for investigations and whatnot.
All right, I'm gonna text you the address of a storage locker. I want you to start using it to store any evidence or other materials you recover in the course of your investigation.
You got it. And please make sure that that evidence disappears, because my wife pulled the trigger.
I'm not sure why you would tell me something like that. It's certainly not information that I want to know, but I'll take care of it.
Thank you.
So after your call, it's, mid-morning. The only thing that you have scheduled for today is to meet Agent Bart at the Trivellino Mall at 11 p.m. I'm not sure if you still intend to do that or not. You don't need to decide right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've got an open door, so
Yeah.
you can spot the pause, or you can do stuff with them up to that point, or because I was going to go on my own anyway. But
Yeah.
All right.
I'm okay with calling it a session if that makes sense, but
Yeah, I think we're probably pretty close to where we'd finish up anyway. If Blake, is it all right? Well, all of you, is it all right if I post the video from the session?
absolutely.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I'll end the recording here. Blake, if you got to go, that's okay. If you've got time to stick around for a very quick stars and wishes, no? Okay.